Welcome to the Lights, Camera, Rant Podcast. Your source for the latest on movies, TV shows, and video games. Get ready for ranting, raving, and reviewing. Here is your host, Lee.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Lights, Camera, Rant, which I've got a very special episode today. We are going to be looking at the final episode of Skelton Crew, and I can't think of better guests to get on the show to rant and rave about this brand new Star Wars TV show. I've got Andy from the Galactic podcast, and I've got Brandon Clan Brandolrian. How you going, guys?
What's up?
What up? What up?
You sound so clear.
It makes no sense. Damn you, Road. Fix your stuff. It's not my fault, I promise.
For anyone who doesn't know, we've just spent the last 30 minutes trying to figure out wonderful tech issues that always go wrong trying to do these things.
Yeah. But hey, now we're here and we're good. Hopefully I sound good to everybody. And yeah, here we go.
You sound good and you look good, brother.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it.
God damn, especially with that Boba Fett TV t-shirt.
Hey.
Front and center.
Yes.
Yeah.
Season 2. Give it to me.
Yeah. I think it should have got a season 2. I didn't think it was that bad. I think we've had worse.
Yeah, for sure.
I understand the hate. Like, yes, the best rated episode was when the Mandalorian popped in, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah. Hey, I still enjoy it. It's a good 7 episodes, but and that is also something that ties in to the bigger picture. So yeah, we'll see how it all works.
Well, that's right. And I also say Luke, who's come past on YouTube, come and watch us and rant about Skelton Crew. I'd like thank you very much for coming past, man. Do appreciate it. So guys, look, I know we were talking about this before. You know, it feels so long ago when we reviewed the ending of Acolyte, which has become, I think, one of the most divisive Star Wars TV shows out of everything that Disney's popped out from the Rise of Skywalker, and how we're talking about like, oh, can't wait for Skelton Crew, which feels like it was just such a long wait from when this got first announced to now.
Yeah, it's been a long time. It took a long time to get here with very little marketing, very little information, and then just dropped almost out of nowhere.
Well, that's right. It was like, oh, your Skelton Crew's coming. Nothing. Boom, here's the poster and the trailer. Kind of nothing. Kind of thing. Oh, here's the premiere date. Right.
Yeah.
And... well, before the final, like before going into this, what did you guys think about this TV show and the premise and that first trailer before it started? Like, what did you think how this was going to go?
Ooh. I mean, I expected there to be probably a bigger picture to be painted going into it. It started off a little... It started off different than what I expected, actually, to be fair. I think it was going to be more Star Wars based right out the beginning. You really get that sudden hit you with a new Star Wars project, but it kind of went its own route, which I think makes it different from the others. And it gives it more of its own feel, which is good. But yeah, the marketing kind of going into it, all you get is the Stranger Things or the Goonies of Star Wars, which I think was a good approach. But, I mean, I think the vibes were really good to start the season off. But that's really all I can think about for how it started off, per se.
Yeah, I think going into it, because we were given so little information, it would have made this series better to have been given more information or things confirmed or denied, because we were constantly told that Jod was a Jedi or an Order 66 survivor, and this turned out to not necessarily be the case, which... was a bit disappointing, and so they could have clarified these sort of things before the series kicked off, and just the whole it's coming like all the way through 2023. It's like, oh, it's going to drop in winter 2023. Oh, it's coming spring 2024, and just no word from Lucasfilm about when it was coming or anything like that. And then finally, what was it, like beginning of autumn or something? They were like, hey, December, Skeleton Crew's actually coming, and you're like, oh, okay, shit, finally.
Right.
So like the marketing was poor in my opinion, because you could have built up a bit of hype for this. And they didn't. It's almost like it was a project that they decided to do and then just didn't get excited about themselves and weren't that keen to sort of really push it. And they're like, hey, it is what it is. Let's just put it out there. And if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. If not, we're not really that bothered anymore. In terms of the wider picture, it had a lot to live up to, because you're going to make a Star Wars project, you're going to get opinions. And so you need to make sure it's on point. No, we're pretty easygoing as Star Wars fans, to be fair. So I think after what happened with the Acolyte, they kind of like looked at this and went, we're not even going to really try to market it or to push it out there. They've just kind of gone, here's the show, here you go. And then that's all they've done with it.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually, the funny thing is you say that because there's a website called Disney Media Kits, where they do launch all the media kits for all their shows that are coming there. And usually what happens is, as the show comes out, they always add in more photos, more backdrop stuff. I've gone on there today to try and get photos, and there was literally just pretty much the announcement poster and the trailer. They haven't added anything into the media kit since the show has been released. It's not even on the front page of most recent shows.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And to add it all into that, this show finished filming, wrapped up filming in January 2023.
Mental. What have they been doing for 2 years? They just don't care that much. Like we talked about it yesterday, me and Brandon, but you expect Star Wars shows nowadays to look amazing, which this has done. So if they've sat on it for the last 20 months and gone, let's fine tune everything about the CGI, the effects, the visuals, the cinematography, and you can go, yeah, it looks beautiful, but maybe spend a bit of that time doing some reshoots and improving the story if you can do here and there. Why? Mandalorian Grogu's finished filming already, isn't it? And that's not going to come out for another 16, 17 months.
Yeah. I was surprised.
They've taken their time with this kind of thing, to be fair, now. And it looks like they're taking their time to do these things and make sure they've got it looking how they want. But I'm like, are you using that time to make sure everything's as good as it can be?
Well, that's funny you say that, because I was like, when I saw, the Mandalorian and Grogu movies finished filming, I was like, yeah. That's still...
Yeah, you got ages before it comes out.
Yeah. Oh, yay.
Yeah.
I know. What do you think? You think, Brandon? Like, do you think they just try to sweep this coming out of the rug, or like they were just burnt too much from Acolyte from last year?
I don't think it really has anything to do with the Acolyte, to be fair. I think maybe they didn't know exactly where they wanted it to go. Maybe, especially with all the editing process, they could figure out how they wanted to kind of leave the end open. Because, clearly in the finale, we could easily say, oh, yeah, it's season 2's coming. They could really figure that out, or this is where the story's wrapped up. But, in my opinion, I think if Book of Boba Fett's staying with one season, Ahsoka's getting a second season, Mando's had 3 seasons, getting the movie as well. I think this should probably stick with just the one season. If there was a season 2, of course, I'm all hyped for it. Let's go. I always want to know what the end result is, but I think that's what you got time for in the Mandalorian and Grogu, maybe how that ties in Ahsoka season 2, or even the Thrawn film. So I guess we'll see what happens. But I was definitely cool with it. But maybe that's just kind of what I take from it, because especially if they're done in January 2023, you're talking a few weeks off of being 2022 even, and that's technically 3 years ago. So that's insane. I have noticed on TikTok and Instagram, seeing all the kids finally getting their interviewing processes going, especially now that the show's over. These kids, they look so different than what they do in the show. They're huge now compared to then. So, it's kind of like that Stranger Things thing, where Finn Wolfhard, Millie Bobby Brown, Noah Schnapp, all them, you get done with the season and you look at them and you're like, dude, they're paying rent now. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting. But that's the world of, children-led acting. So, but yeah, I think we should have got a little sooner, but I think Andy and I were talking yesterday. A few years ago, Bob Iger's main focus, and he came out and said that they're gonna, pump the brakes with Disney products, and you're starting to now see that. So maybe that's what the whole point of sitting on it was. That way, there was a slot for this time of the year going into Andor. Because other than that, I mean, what else do we have for the rest of the year? So
Well, no, that's right. I was looking at it today. I'm like, that's pretty much Andor, and that's it.
Yep.
No.
Or they're gonna drop Tales of the Sith on us, and Star Wars fans all hold hands once again.
Yeah, boy.
Better be. I better be getting some Tales of the Sith.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there has to be like some kind of special or something on later of the year. I'd be very surprised if there's just nothing after Andor, even if it's just because we still got the Lego movie, Sith Lego movie that we got.
Oh, Rebuild the Galaxy.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luke, with the show being the latest thing, hopefully the word of mouth, more people will watch it. Combined with this with Andor, goodwill should be there for the Mando movie. And just to be sure, after this, Andor, Mando movie, Ahsoka season 2, and throw on Ahsoka movie.
Yeah, I mean that's the order of how things are coming out at the moment. But the comment about goodwill should be there for the Mando movie, I don't think for the Mando movie that's not going to matter. Mando and Grogu movie is going to make bills no matter what. People are going to want to see that. It's Grogu anyway, and Mando. People are going to want to see that. So it doesn't really matter, to be fair, whether there's goodwill built up from the previous series. People are going to go and watch that film regardless.
Yeah. Do you guys think it's going to make more money than Rise of Skywalker?
Ooh, no. I mean, how much did Rise of Skywalker make, actually?
Not much. No. I'll find out.
All I know is I saw it 3 times in theaters, so they got probably $25 from me.
they got my money from it.
$1.077 billion worldwide. So do I think this Mando film is going to make $1 billion? Actually, it probably could make $1 billion.
I think it could make $1 billion only because the fact that it's been it's going to feel quite a long time since the Rise of Skywalker, since a Star Wars film has been on the big
6
screen.
years.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 6 years. By the time it finally drops,
I think it does. I think it does break Rise of Skywalker, only because people are looking at, okay, here we're going to go to the movie, we're going to see the Star Wars film. This is going to wrap up the sequel trilogy. I want to see what happens to Rey, Kylo Ren, yada, yada, yada. We got that. But you take a casual, just movie person or kids that see this guy right here.
Yeah, true.
And there's going to be people, it's like another Disney movie for kids, like Frozen, like, I don't know the numbers, but I remember seeing some blockbuster for the Frozen films. Lion King, anything animated, it's going to go crazy. But with Grogu, this is if something happens to Grogu, I think Disney goes up in flames. So it's just one of those things where, the baby Yoda people will show up. The ones that don't even know his name are just going to show up because he's on the theatrical poster. I actually, the more I think about it, I think it's going to break it. Yeah, times are different too.
I absolutely agree. I mean, I'll probably see it 3-4 times in the opening 3 or 4 days anyway. So
yeah,
that's in the first 3 days.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain films that I've seen 3 times in the opening 24 hours. I'll be there at the midnight premiere, and then I'll be back twice the next evening to watch it back to back. So I'm not saying I necessarily will do this one, but yeah, I'll still be there a few times to watch it.
No, I will be there. Luke, I saw it 3 times. Why? I don't mind it, but I remember rolling my eyes when Ben and Ray turned towards the grand puppy pals.
What were they supposed to do? Just look at them and be like, we'll just walk away. Yeah. It's just Palpatine.
Yeah. Oh no, Palpatine again. Double A, your thoughts on the low viewership of Skelton Crew and why people haven't been watching it?
You want to hit this one first, Brandon?
I feel like it's kind of hard to tell. I can never think of a reason why someone doesn't want to watch anything. I think Skeleton Crew, like I said, it's obviously for kids and it's pinpointed towards kids. Or you can even go the deeper route, just like George Lucas said in an interview. This is all for young children. That's what I made it for, anyways. I mean, I don't care, man. I'm 28. I love Star Wars. It's great. But I mean, for the casual fan, I mean, it's amusing. It's cool. It's all 80s aesthetic. Like who doesn't like that time era for entertainment? So, but the low viewership, I couldn't even really. I don't have an answer for that. I think it's interesting. It's a cool thing to know going forward, especially after the backlash for stuff that we had with the Acolyte. I mean, it's all going to be different. That's what everyone's basing the viewership off of. So, I mean, it's interesting. I think it's a cool thing to look at, though, for sure.
I think there are three things that probably, if the low viewership is correct, that we can look towards. One, there is always a low viewership of something after there's been backlash that the wider audience doesn't necessarily like. So, for example, Solo came out after The Last Jedi, and Solo had really low numbers in the box office as a sort of backlash because it came out only 4 months after Last Jedi. So
Pretty much, yeah.
this is the first project after Acolyte, which again, as we already said, is divisive. So people may have been turned away from going to it straight away. I think the fact that it is a kids show, or it's predominantly based around kids, is going to put some people off, or maybe like the standard viewer isn't going to again rush to it. And then I think that because again it's a kids show, it's not about the Jedi and the Sith, and it's not mainstream Star Wars. The casual viewer doesn't flock to it straight away either. They wait and see what the hype is like for it before going to watch it. So I think over time it will do steady numbers, but I think those are, in my mind anyway, probably the three best reasons why people haven't flocked to it immediately. If it has got low viewership, I think it's something that people will just look at over time and take their time with, rather than rushing to see as soon as every episode's come out, like we would do.
Just do a massive binge.
Yeah,
Like I'll go back to it when it's all out. Now that it's out, because I potentially thought that the Skeleton Crew was going to actually do a massive dump because of the time it was coming out. I thought potentially it was. I was like, oh, because this is so close to Christmas, are they just going to do what they did with the Echo TV show and just dump all the episodes in one go, just to have the show done and not keep promoting it?
Yeah, I did one of that as well, to be fair. I didn't think they were going to be like doing a Christmas Day episode and stuff like that, like they did. So, but yeah, I'm glad they've done it week by week.
Same. I do understand why it would have the low viewership, is because, like, when we got Acolyte, it was like there's so many Jedi, so many Sith. There was so many lightsaber battles in the trailer when this was set. This is reaching really into that hardcore Star Wars fan. And then you get this, which, yes, basically the Goonies in space. With just the notion, it's in the same Mandoverse. That's the time period for it. That's it.
Yeah,
that's always the funny part, is that it's tied into the Mandoverse.
Yeah. This has annoyed me the more I thought about it, because like they say everything has been interconnected. I mean, he's laughing because we've been doing our season-long collaboration every episode. We've been obviously going live together on, and I'm like, every week I'm like, where's the connection to the wider Mandoverse?
It's vain. It's vain.
That fucking one pirate that was just there from Mando season 3, that was a ship pirate as well. And then it's just like, where is it? That's my wife, by the way, just in case we're wondering.
There's still a big ship. There's still a big ship.
There's just no connection. Like they say, everything is going to move forward and culminate in the Thrawn film. So Book of Boba Fett, Mando, Ahsoka, and Skeleton Crew's part of that as well. They always snuck that in there and said, yeah, don't forget Skeleton Crew's part of that. Okay, so it takes place just apparently in the timeline just after Mando season 3. But apart from that, unless you're going to bring Jod into some point into the Mando and Grogu film or the Thrawn film, Or Brandon brought up a great point yesterday: the fact that in the Star Wars galaxy map, Atatin is located right next to Dathomir, which is where we last see Thrawn and the Night Sisters at the end of Ahsoka season 1. So if that maybe has a connection because it's right next door to it. But the
How
fact that
convenient! How so convenient!
just the fact that there's no connection to the Mandoverse really with this series has kind of annoyed me when they built it up to be part of it. So unless you make a massive connection in season 2, it's been a bit of a waste of time trying to connect it to that timeline right now.
It really, I was half expecting, which Andy, I think we spoke about this at the very start. Skeleton Crew is, I forgot his name again. He was the Rebel fighter. He was in Mandalorian season 2, season 3, and Ahsoka.
Carson Tava?
Yeah, I thought he might be at the end with the rest of them. That he'd just rock up and be like, I got paid for another cameo, but hey, here I am.
Yeah.
I thought he would at least rock up.
Yeah, something we talked about as well. That or Dave Filoni's character, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head. Brandon will be able to tell me his name.
Trapper Wolf.
Trapper Wolf. There we go.
Yeah.
Having any of them show up to connect it a bit further. We even talked about the fact it would have been great if, like, on that final scene when you do have the X-wings and B-wings show up, if Mando's N1 Starfighter would just come through the clouds and you hear the Mando music kick off. And there's just him and Grogu just in the cockpit, just doing spins and shit, and Grogu's like, "Woo!" as they just shoot some pirates down and to help out. Would have been a forced cameo, but at least then you're connecting it to the wider thing because Mando's now helping out the New Republic. But the fact that there was no connection, it kind of annoys me because, okay, maybe the casual fan doesn't need a big connection for Star Wars. It doesn't need everything to be interconnected. It doesn't need everything to be put together like that. But I think as obviously a hardcore Star Wars fan, if you're going to have a TV show that you're spending money on and you're cherry picking what you can and what you don't create, then you need to make sure it somehow contributes and elevates the Star Wars universe. And this has been, for me, so mid that it's forgettable.
Here's the thing, though. When you look at it that way, what is the point of the Skeleton Crew, like as a collective? Because if we need that interconnection, and like you said, if it was to even go towards like a casual fan, like what is the point of Skeleton Crew? Because we get the Mandalorian, of course, which is it paves the way, but then we get Book of Boba Fett, so even to go back again, Mando season 2, we get Ahsoka. Who knew that she was going to get her own show until after? Okay, it's out now. So then we have Book of Boba Fett, to where we get a Mandalorian episode within to ultimately tell the story of the Mandoverse, bringing them together. We already got Boba Fett linked in there. Now we have Ahsoka, who's off with Luke. So we have almost the original trilogy linked into the Mandoverse now with Luke Skywalker. But then you get the Skeleton Crew, and it's like, oh yeah, Vane, that pirate. Here's the connection.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's so weird. But I do have one thing that could make me think that it could be connected in some way, and I think that's only if Jod gets arrested by the New Republic. So now that could be cool to link in. Hera, Ezra's now back with Hera in the main galaxy. But what I think would be really cool is if somehow Hu Yang is able to get back because he's with Ahsoka and Sabine on Peridia. Maybe he can get Jod's lightsaber that was confiscated and tell us who that lightsaber then belonged to. So maybe that could tie it all in. But we also are dealing with a robot who's on a different planet in a different galaxy. So it's even kind of a stretch, but still could be cool to just interconnect it. But still, the Skeleton Crew doesn't have that main piece other than Vane. I can't think of anyone else.
No, that's really...
The Skeleton Crew is more connected to Revenge of the Sith in a way. We got, some connections to where they're talking about the Jedi falling and that they're, they are opposite of the Empire now. They're now an enemy. That's more of a connection to Revenge of the Sith than the Mandoverse, in my opinion.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, good point.
But it's a good show. I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
Oh yeah, I don't think it's a terrible show at all. I don't think it's a bad show. Just for me and what I look for in a Star Wars show, it's just been boring. I just haven't been excited by it. It's not elevated anything for me. It's not added anything to the Star Wars story. And maybe it's just me that I personally need that excitement from it, and it just hasn't clicked for me on that front. I think Brandon made a good point in the fact that if you're a young kid watching this show, you're probably going to love it, or if you're a parent watching this with the young kids, you're going to love it for them. But as a the kind of Star Wars fan I am, I'm just like, I watch this and go, I just don't understand the amount of praise it's received over the last sort of 48 hours that I've seen online. Some even saying this is everything that Star Wars should be when it's not focused on the Jedi and the Sith. And I'm like, that to me is so much overpraise that it's unreal for a show that to me has been nothing more than mid at best. It's been fun in places. It's been visually stunning. It's had some good nuggets here and there, and the kids have been really fun to watch for the most part. But it's still been very mid for me, and I just don't understand why you make a story that isn't bigger and how it then connects to the wider universe, because they banged on about that it does connect to it, and yet there was no real connection.
All right, it does connect to it this much. This much is how much.
I mean, it's in the Star Wars galaxy. Okay, so it's there.
Yeah. That's all it is. And I understand the praise it's getting, and I think it's great in the sense of like, not saying acolyte, but the sense of adventure that the Star Wars can have, going to different planets, meeting different aliens. Even though I did see one comment that I thought was really funny. It was like, oh, pirates. How do they know how to talk something from an old Earth story? How do they know to talk like pirates and say "arr"? I was like, well, yeah, true.
It's universal.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, pirates know how to talk on every planet.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it's going to be amazing, but I do think the fact it's going to be like, this is great. Just a pure Star Wars adventure story. Like it's not going to wow audiences. It's not going to make money for bank, but I think it's pretty much Star Wars adventure to a T.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
I just think at times they forgot they were making a Star Wars show, because they kind of like felt almost like they had to force it in places, because the amount of Easter eggs in this series that were for all other pirate shows and pirate connections to other TV shows and stuff, there were more of those in there than there were Star Wars Easter eggs. So
Treasure Island.
Every now and again, you're feeling like you've got to throw in like the X-wings to remind you, oh, this is in the Star Wars universe. It's not just a random space adventure.
Oh shit, a lightsaber! What?
Yeah,
the?
exactly. Yeah. Oh, but he doesn't know how to use it because he was in a fucking dirt hole that was found by a random female Jedi. So it's just there. It felt more forced that they were trying to force the Star Wars connections at different points, and it was just like a space journey, a space adventure, rather than it was a Star Wars adventure.
I will admit, Jod's story, when he was talking about his backstory, I was like, yeah, where did you come from?
More,
and he was like,
please.
Yeah, more. And he's like, oh, she just found me in a hole and I had to kill her. I'm like, oh, okay. That's it. Nothing else. Couldn't describe her or whoever she was or what planet she found you on or nothing. Just
that. little tidbits. You know what else? Like Andy, you did say, it's you see the praise online because it's such a low risk Star Wars show, but with the James Mangold Dawn of the Jedi, he wants to step away from the lore and not be held back by it. But let that be said, and people go ape shit. It's so weird how it goes both ends, but it's something that you can really understand with, especially if you like Star Wars, you're gonna understand. As long as you get some, like I love to say, if you get some cool looking shit in a good story, it's Star Wars. You'll be fine. But at the end of the day, it's just kind of like, well, if we're going, with that pass to where, it was very, very easy and we weren't, diving deep into the rich lore of Star Wars. Well, is it Star Wars then?
I mean, Yeah, you got a good point there. Like something like the James Mangold Dawn of the Jedi film, 25,000 years in the past, he's not going to be tied to the lore because they're inventing the start of the Force and the Jedi, so to speak.
Basically,
It would be the same if you do Knights of the Old Republic, or if you do a film that's set 500 years in the future from the Skywalker saga. You're not going to be held to the same lore and stuff because it's such a vastly different time period. But you're doing something that's smack bang in the middle of all the trilogies that we've done and that we've had, and so therefore you have to tie it in somehow. You can't just ignore that in a way, and otherwise, like you said, is it really Star Wars? Is it just a sci-fi adventure?
Well, if it Luke on YouTube, I think Mangled meant not being bogged down by the Skywalker time, which excites me. Yeah, not
that's good.
constrained.
Yeah, could you imagine? He's like, okay, I'm gonna go with this Jedi right here. We're gonna talk about him. But how's Anakin chime in with this? You know, like
this is where they invent the prophecy of the chosen one.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, could you imagine if that's what they like kind of formed in? That'd be awesome. But then again, it's weird.
Oh, there's going to be a flash forward. Someone gets a vision of a Force vision of Anakin in the future.
Yes, there's this guy. There's this guy, and he's stunning and awesome, and he gets mad and cries about everything. And
he's next to this really handsome Jesus bloke.
And he's just gonna F up the galaxy for a few 30 or 50 years. And there's a really old guy in it for some reason. I'm with Brandon on that. If they do have just one bit where the guy is writing that prophecy, I will be like, that's cool as shit.
Yeah,
it'd be pretty cool.
But yeah, you're right. The fact it's that far away, what he can do is pretty much free reign on the whole thing. But for this last episode, what's the least part that you guys disliked about this episode? Before we go into what we most liked about it.
You go, Andy.
He's got a bigger list.
No, it's not that I've got a bigger list. It's just
I just saw your name. I just realized your
name. I think for me the biggest disappointment of this was the supervisor. I think naming a droid AI overlord is a bit of a cop out, because then it's an easy way to write them out as well, because all you got to do is just defeat them and stick a lightsaber in them, and they're out the equation. Rather than having a more complicated story in there, or didn't necessarily have to be a complicated story for who the supervisor was, but making them not human was just a bit of a cop out for me, and just was an easy way to dismiss them. When they were just a tool, it was built up to being something bigger than it was, or it seemed like the supervisor was going to be something bigger than it was, and then to just it be, voiced by Stephen Fry, great, amazing, love that voice. But at the end of the day, that was something that annoyed me. It just felt like a cop out to have it as a droid AI thing, and then it just easily defeated by Jod, and therefore played no further part. No need for it.
I wasn't expecting a robot, but as soon as it was like, I guess that makes sense. I guess that's one way to do it, if you will. I will admit, I do like how the overseer did catch out Jod. It's like, well, which one are you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
Yeah. So the last message we have for the public is the Jedi are traitors. So are you lying about being a Republic emissary or a Jedi? Yeah. Which one is it? He's like, well, kind of both, actually. So. Luke in the comments is spot on. The fact it was a nod to 2001: Space Odyssey, but at the same point, just for me, that was the biggest thing, is getting that final reveal of who the supervisor was. And going, oh, it's a fucking droid. Okay,
yeah,
just don't need it. And then to me, the other thing that I really didn't like is the fact that there was no real story or finishing the story of what happened with Assassin.
Amy, I think we all need to appreciate how Neil managed to finish his bath, meet KB and Wim, and shoot the big gun in record time.
Hey, when you need to get out there, you're going to jump out that bath, aren't you? So
Neil for Emperor.
Neil has been the MVP.
I think the fact that there was no no answer to what happened to the rest of the planets that Atatin was part of the Great Works with, as well. I was expecting a bit more of a conclusion to what happened to those planets, why they were raided or why they were destroyed, and why Atatin was left alone. Whether they let the barrier down like they did it like they did at the end of this episode, and therefore opened themselves up to being destroyed, or not. I just expected more of a finishing storyline. They left this episode left up for me a lot more questions than it actually gave me answers. And setting up for a season 2 like that seems to be the constant thing that they do nowadays, and it pisses me off a little bit, to be honest. I leave a series with answers. Give us the answers, and give us more questions at the start of a new series if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Did you? What were you thinking, Brandon?
Sorry, I thought my cat was meowing at me. I must be hearing things. You know, I think if I was to find something that I wasn't really okay with, is I just think the last episode went out with a bang, but when you expect so much, it's gonna be underwhelming. Like, that's what I told my wife. Didn't watch this series.
I expect too much.
Yeah. So I mean, she was just like, "How was it?" And I was just like, "It was good. It was just a bit underwhelming because I was just expecting a little bit more, and I think there's too many loose ends that weren't connected at the end." But like, I want to know, and maybe this gets answered later. And this is just for now, cliffhanger, typical film thing. And just overall storytelling, it happens, but I think it's just like, let's get that closure just in case, because I mean, if you want to fix mistakes, quote unquote, I mean, you look at the Acolyte, it was set up for a season 2, very obviously. Looking at the very, I mean, you could look at episode 6 and be like, okay, this is setting up for a season 2, and the last 5 minutes of episode 8, you understand that this is going on further. But I just think it's kind of weird how we can't get loose ends caught up at the end of a series, because that's what you expect. Usually the series get greenlit for a second, third, fourth season, during the time. So that's the only thing I kind of had a problem with, is it just didn't kind of end in a solid way, to where kind of like Andy says, is you're left with more questions, and I hate that. But that's me as a consumer, and plus talking about it with other like-minded nerds, you want to figure out what the end is, and we just didn't really get that. But like I said, maybe it's later.
Well, as we're recording this, there is no confirmation of season 2, but I fully agree with both your statements. Is that the ending, I must admit, was a bit like more open-ended than I thought it was going to be. I was like, okay, it was like, well, if there's no season 2, like, what's going to happen? What's happened with the rest of the Republic, with your planet? What's going to happen now with everything going on? What's happening to Jod? Like, if you don't get a season 2, this season is almost too open-ended.
Yeah. I mean, if they don't have a season 2, I think they have to go to a spot where, with Jod's story, they pick him up somewhere in Mando or in Ahsoka before, or even at the start of the Thrawn film, when they're building up. Maybe they've captured him, and then they're building up an army to take on Thrawn, and they're like, we need all the help we can get. And they go, well, actually, we've got this Force-sensitive pirate dude in lockup who can be a bit of be a bit handy if we give him the right motivation. And
he was about to kill a whole bunch of kids. Like I think we could trust him.
It's just mental, and she talks him down and talks him into it. So
I saw Anakin do this.
Yeah, that's the only way I see that if they don't have a season 2, that's the way that they bring him in. Just he's been locked up, as Brandon said, and then he's sort of, someone goes to him, Hera, Ahsoka, someone, and goes, come join us, fight this battle, and we'll let you go. Or you die in battle, one of the two.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't really care at this point in time.
If you die in battle, we don't have to make a season 2. But that's the thing, is like, if they do make a season 2, like, do you get these kids back again? How do you get them off the planet? Like, are they going to want to go on another trip? What makes them get off the planet to go on another adventure?
I mean, I heard the directors and writers say they already had plans or ideas for season 2 in mind in terms of what they wanted to do with the story, and there might have been like a bit of a time jump. I'm like, the time jump's got to be in line with what you're doing with the rest of the Mandoverse. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. If you're tying it into everything, if you're doing it as still a standalone series that's not going to tie into that story, then do what you want. To be fair, you can jump forward 5-10 years; it's not going to make a difference. I think, as we spoke about, though, if you've got, we just don't see that. If, for example, it ties into the Thrawn film and Dathomir's next door, and Thrawn goes, "Oh, I heard about this planet that's been revealed." Sort of in the system next door, and you've got a lot of credits. Let's go and steal them all and use it to fund the Empire remnants. The kids aren't going to fucking stop Thrawn and stuff showing up, are they? So,
no.
So I don't see how the kids tie into the greater story. This is why my money's on Jod being the one that ties into the rest of it, if they do want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you look at if Thrawn is going to go. I mean, they're next door for a reason. Why on earth would we know that At-Aten is next to Dathomir, knowing that Thrawn's first place back into the main galaxy is Dathomir? So, what I think, if we get extra use of the kids, what I feel like is if with no supervisor, I don't think At-Aten continues. I think something bad is going to happen to At-Aten, and maybe this is where we can tie in with the kids and get them maybe these like the kids and their parents, maybe they get moved to Navarro. I think that would be a really good point, because I mean, there's no supervisor, so that's going to leave me to think, what kind of security does At-Aten have? What kind of blockage does it have against outside worlds? I mean, already got pirates in. There's no, and I think it's kind of interesting how they really focused on At-Aten not having a barrier out in its atmosphere, out in its space. So all you see is At-Aten just naked now, basically. So what are the parents going to do for work now? Are they, they're free, basically, in a sense. So, I mean, what if At-Aten gets destroyed by Thrawn and the Imperial remnants, and that is able to get, because they're not going to kill off all the kids. They're not doing that. So I think they end up getting rescued and sent to Navarro, per se, just because, I mean, Mando and Grogu are camped out there now. So maybe that's what happens.
That could definitely happen, because you're right. There's nothing protecting the planet. There's no security, and there's a massive evil force just over there.
Yeah, right next door.
Some freaking zombie witches going on. Let's kill them all.
Yeah, we don't go there. Everything the light touches, we don't go near. Well, we'll also got here with Luke saying, talking about things being connected, do you think that Luke has to be the main part of the Thrawn movie, even though with Disney, Thrawn is Ahsoka's enemy?
No.
Nope.
I don't think he's going to play any part in that movie.
No, neither do I.
I don't see him being a part of it. It's about the other guys coming together from the Mandoverse, and I think Luke stays out of it because he's too busy building up his new Jedi Order.
I can already see the meme. It's like pictures of the time movie, and then there's Luke just with his tea. So peaceful. Nothing's going on.
I think only no, because I think Dave Filoni really wants to strike gold with Ahsoka. The more chances he gets to play with this character and flesh out a longer story, he's going to do that. The tidbits of Luke Skywalker, we all love that. It's limited screen time, so it's good for the story. The only reason I see Luke coming in is if for some crazy reason Abeloth comes into canon and is in the main, or is what's calling to Balin. That's the only thing, and I think it would only be a time to pay homage to legends with Luke going against Abeloth, blah blah blah. But I think that's the only reason we get Luke. But besides that, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think he's gonna rock up.
Because is Luke supposed to save the day once again in the Mando, for the Mandoverse? He's already done that, and I think that's really good for the character. But I don't think he comes in and defeats Thrawn, which even raises another question: how is Thrawn going to get defeated? It's just such a weird point in the Mandoverse with what we got, Yeah.
True. That's also. How's he going to get defeated? How's this all going to happen? And again, I know it's not going to happen, but Then you got the sequel movies that mention nothing of a massive battle going on, or Thrawn, nothing like, oh, that was a squibble, that was nothing.
Mm.
No mention.
Obviously, you can't have Luke show up in a single X-wing again to the ship where the final battle's going on, and then have him save the day. It would just be ridiculous, wouldn't it? So you can't.
Yeah.
You just don't have him show up again. There's no need for him to do it. You're going to have a bunch of them. So
Ezra ruined Thrawn slams as a teen, so the Skeleton kids could definitely ruin more. No wonder Anakin did what he did.
Cold.
Welcome to the mother of my child, everyone.
We're also got Eric. Sup, guys? I've only seen up to episode 7. There's 8, right? But I'll bear the spoilers. I enjoyed the show, man, and I thought it's a fun time.
Hell yeah.
That's probably the way. Fun time is probably the best way to also describe it. Balin is my favorite from the Mando Ahsoka verse. A Knight Templar Force Wheel is so good. And like, I think you guys would have seen the fact that they're looking at recasting him.
Mm-hmm.
They have recast him, haven't they? So
they had to.
Well, yeah, they already said they were going to do it, and obviously we got the news this week of I can't remember his name off the top of my head now, even though I named it only yesterday.
Right.
It's gonna the Hound from Game of Thrones, Rory McCann.
That's it.
Been recast. So yeah, it was gonna happen. It's a shame, definitely a shame. Ray Stevenson, R.I.P. Because he did such a good job season 1, and hopefully, Rory McCann does it justice season 2.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is because he had such a pivotal part in the show, and it is very sad that Ray. I think it's even sad the fact he didn't get to see all the love for his character he got after the show came out.
Man.
Especially because he did such a good performance, which I'm very curious to see what his character is going to be doing in Ahsoka season 2, or in the Thrawn movie too. I would assume, maybe.
I mean, it depends. If he makes it out of Ahsoka season 2, doesn't it? I just really don't know.
Lee, now you're going to watch Game of Thrones and say Ahsoka season 2.
To be fair, I wouldn't even say that, Eric, because this guy's watched Ahsoka season 1 and he's not watched fucking Clone Wars, has he? Hey!
God. All those characters made sense. I get it.
Tick that off your bingo card, folks, for Andy's appearance.
It all makes sense. You had a random robot that knew so much about training young Jedi, and a bunch of random characters that you've never seen in Star Wars movies. I get it.
You haven't watched Rebels yet, either of you?
No.
How the fuck do you understand anything that's going on?
I know they're hot.
Welcome to the Andy and Brandon show, because Lena knows nothing right now.
It had Anakin in it. I was in.
Fair.
That's it. But what was your favorite parts of this episode 8 that you really enjoyed?
Go on, Brandon. I've got none. No, I'm joking. I haven't.
Man, a favorite.
Yeah.
Okay, I think my favorite is really just the boldness of bringing Kim back, only because in my collecting verse, I look at these Funko Pops of characters that they don't really make characters that don't make no sense. But Kim is one of the characters that they have in this first wave of Skeleton Crew Pops. So I'm like, man, she looks cool, half cat, half owl, looking really cool. I like it. I love the appearance. But I love seeing that she was able to make an impact in this last episode. And of course, we get the good guys, the X-Wings. I love seeing X-Wings. They're so cool. And plus, I thought it was going to open doors for Mando, of course, sliding through at the N1, but that's okay. But I really think my favorite part was just seeing the X-Wings come alive and shoot through the clouds as they do and go crazy. And I thought that's probably my favorite.
And one was shooting laser beams?
Yeah, the B-Wing. If you watched Rebels.
Yeah, if you watch Rebels, mate, you'd know. You'd know what a B-Wing is.
I walked into that. I should have said anything.
Hey, but they had a Corvette class shuttle as well. We got to see another Tantive 4, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
That end battle was good. How they took down the pirate ship.
Yeah, it was cool. I like how it slowly went down, and it's just like, yes, you all rot. You suck.
And also smashed through the entire neighborhood while
Yeah.
doing it.
Yep. See, they're leaving. They're leaving at Atten. They're going
Yeah.
somewhere else.
You're saved, but your neighborhood is gone. What about you, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, Brandon's already said it, to be fair. The appearance of the X-Wings and the B-Wing, getting to see the B-Wings firing, because whilst we saw B-Wings in the original trilogy, you don't really see a lot of them. You see them very, very quickly in some of the battles. So to actually see them and get the live-action B-Wing firing, that we, like I said, the first time I got to see it with Rebels, that was pretty damn cool, to be fair. But again, it was cool because that's actually a part of Star Wars. The rest of it was just normal shit otherwise. So it was special because it was a Star Wars moment that in a Star Wars series that there haven't been a lot of Star Wars moments in. So that's what made it good for me at the end. So yeah, that was the highlight, because apart from that, I thought this was one of the better episodes of the series, to be fair. I did enjoy it more than probably 70-80% of the other episodes in terms of what actually went on, because it's the finale. There's going to be a lot more action, to be fair, and the modern era of like Disney shows of Marvel and Star Wars on Disney Plus, a lot of things tend to get left for the finale, and this was definitely one of those episodes where they put a lot in there. I liked KB in this episode, just the fact that she, all she really did was go to the ship and then get it in the air, but she got SM-33 working again with his decapitated head.
I was surprised when he was back. I was like, good.
And just getting out there and calling Kim and getting them back in. So, like, yeah, I kind of liked the kids' conclusion, because obviously what was the title of the episode is the real good guys, or whatever it was.
The real good guys.
And so the kids getting to play that part and Win, with his relentless whiny nature, paid off in the end, and the fact that he just relentlessly badgered until he won the day, along with Fern's aggressive nature. So yeah, fair play that the kids in the end had a good ending, I think. Parents, for the most part, are still terrible.
Yeah, Mum, can you help? Mum, help! The bad guy's right there. Pull the trigger. I don't know. I'm like, he's literally pulling his fingers back. You probably should help him.
I mean, we were all waiting for that moment when Job was going to like break Wim's dad's hand using the Force, and he didn't. But
it's so true, man. He was such a foul dude, so just not cool, just yeah. So yeah,
I mean, it was good when he had a bit of fun on the speeder bike.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was good to see that, to be fair.
Yes.
For everyone listening in, Amy, Wim's dad removing the stick from his ass was good to see. No, that's right. Glad he was there at the end. But yeah, Fern's what's his name's mum was like, "What are you doing? Help!"
I
know. So I guess you would say, would you feel like this was a better ending than Acolyte?
No.
Better ending than Acolyte. Oh,
God. No, a more satisfying ending.
I would say more satisfying ending.
Yeah,
yes.
More satisfying.
Yes, but like ending in this fashion, no. This mystery Sith guy who mystery Sith guy who looks cool, probably one of the coolest looking characters we've ever seen in Star Wars. It's up there. It's easily up there. We get Plagueis, man. We've been talking. He's only been a character in the shadows, and we finally get him in live action. Does this set up for a crazier season 2? 100%. I feel like the Acolyte season 1 was only just the start. It wasn't advertised to what it was supposed to be, but I think it was starting to get there. You look at The Walking Dead, the first season, super, super slow, very slow burn. And you're like, okay, where are we getting? once they get to the prison in season 2, here we go. Stranger Things season 1. It's like, okay, where's this going? I think that's what the Acolyte was setting up to be. But no, I don't think it had a more satisfying ending to answer the question. But this is like Camera Rant. I'm gonna rant.
That's the whole point.
Nice to see Brandon ranting for once, rather than being Mr. Positivity all the time. Yeah, this had a more satisfying ending overall to the Acolyte, because the kids won out at the day and they're protecting their planet. Yep, there's loose ends, but they do that with every series now, so that's not really going to make a difference. But the ending to the Acolyte was, to me, very unsatisfying, not necessarily unsatisfying. I just didn't like the ending to it. Having them finish on that shore front, overlooking the sea, holding hands. I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Is this a Notebook?
I mean, I just couldn't get on board with that. Everyone has, a lot of people have a lot of reasons to be not so happy with the Acolyte. I try and let a lot of things slide, even if I don't sound like I do.
He doesn't. He really doesn't.
He hates everything.
But yeah, I couldn't let the ending to the Acolyte go. But this is definitely, Skelton Crew is and all around it was an alright ending. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily complain about it the same way.
No, I concur with both you guys. Yeah, it's definitely more satisfying, but it just wish that it was different for Acolyte. I do, and I know, I did rip on Acolyte, and I look back and I'm like, it's just such a missed opportunity of what was going to come.
I mean, yeah, definitely. If they cancelled it because of the backlash that they got, then they're so weak-minded that somebody has obviously tricked them into cancelling it, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter the backlash you get. If you've got a story to tell, then you need to tell that story. Cancelling it and leaving it, and Star Wars is not generally known for doing that either, in terms of they don't leave stories open-ended. They make sure they come to a conclusion somehow. And to have something like this and cancel it after one season when you clearly had a story to tell, and the fact that you could have turned everything around in this season 2 as well and made it one of the best seasons of Star Wars, when you focus on Khmer the Stranger, and you focus on Plagueis, and you make that one of the best damn bits of pre-prequel Star Wars that we're ever going to get. Forget the fact that I'm never going to let my wife back on here. I don't think Lee's going to let me back on because of my wife.
There's I gotta block something out there.
Don't worry, Lee. I shall discipline her afterwards.
No.
Yeah. So when you've got a story to tell like that, you need to make sure you tell it, and to give in to fan hate, especially when it's Star Wars fan hate that's ridiculous at the best of times. Let alone if it's actually deserved. So I like to think with Skeleton Crew that they're gonna tie up the story somehow. Like we said, whether it's part of another series or a season 2 at least.
Yeah, that's my big thing. Is it's I've bringing Plagueis live action. Is the show that bad for it not to continue? Because I mean, I remember seeing online a lot of the time too is people saying, "Yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes and I just didn't pick it up after that." And it's come on, man. I just don't buy into that. Just only because it's what's really going on is people online are just saying, "Oh, it's so lore breaking. This is not Jedi." What are you talking about? That makes no sense. Everyone is on the internet. Everyone sees that, hops on that narrative without making their own opinion. And then that's what makes it. I don't, it's so weak-minded. Like you said, Andy, it's to want to cancel a show because of what people think. That's not how that works. I think there's something else to it. But at the same time, when they bring up the budget too of the Acolyte, it's okay. But I mean, you give me all that money, what am I going to make? That's the thing. I can't do it. So, I mean, I don't know where the wanting to cut the story off ends, because give me Chimere, give me Plagueis. Now we have a story to go off from there.
Exactly. And I don't think the show was law breaking at all. I thought it did good.
Not.
The only
It's not,
thing
actually. I think it's not.
the only thing that really got me out of it that was like, this is a bit odd, was like some of the witches scenes, like, oh, the power of one, the power of many. I was like, can we just go back to the Jedi? Can we just go back to that? It was like stuff like that that took me out of it. But I'm happy to see a season 2. And well, look, we are getting one show that's getting a season 2 that I think is well deserved and is going to lead straight up to Rogue One. And I was about to say Rebel One. I'm like, no. Andor season 2 that's meant to have time jumps and lead straight before the movie.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Simply because, I mean, me and Brandon were talking about this yesterday, weren't we? And we were discussing how good can something be when you already know the fate of the characters. Because we know what happens to Andor. We've seen Rogue One. Unfortunately, that guy ain't going to make it.
What do you mean? Don't spoil it.
What?
Just cancel me. It's fine. The fact that then this has time jumps as well, which makes it even maybe harder to tell a cohesive story.
Yes.
Are you just then rushing it to fill in the gaps between? Because they said this is going to finish 15 minutes before when we meet him in Rogue One. So we take him right up to that industrial moon that he's on or whatever. So that's my only worry, is that season 1 was so good because it was a slow burner where the first half was like just laying the foundation. The second half of like the prison scenes really amped up the intensity every single week, and you were like gagging for the next bit of the story. Whereas if you're just going to jump every like 2 or 3 episodes by a year, are you really going to be able to put a sense of justice to his story that gets him to the person that he is in Rogue One? Because he's not obviously there right now. He's getting there, but he's not quite there. And is that really going to do justice to his story then? I'm not sure. I'm really hoping it's going to be just as good. Obviously, technically better than season 2, because you want everything to always improve. But
always,
yeah, right now I am on the fence because, unfortunately, with the exception here or there, Star Wars has been, for the first time in my personal viewing, ropey recently.
Well, they also said the fact we're going to be getting K2SO on this too.
Well, yeah, I know Brandon's excited to see Krennic.
Yes.
Yeah,
give me Krennic.
Yeah. Don't choke on your aspirations.
Director.
Yeah.
So dope.
You're right. Like, because everyone remembers the prison scene from Andor, and I still love. I think it was Comic-Con that year when all those people dressed up and ran around.
It was Star Wars Celebration
dope.
in London.
London that did that. I thought that is cool as shit.
Yeah, that's
also creepy that you probably could get trampled across if you're in front of that.
Yeah, it was amazing to see like just an entire crowd of people dressed up as the prisoners and all chanting "One Way Out" as they literally ran from one end of the arena to the other.
Yeah, one way out, one way out. But no, and like as well as you're right, like, will the time jumps hurt it going into it? What do you think, Bran?
I'm all about a story that gets straight to the point. So maybe we're getting each episode, we get a really strong point story that leads into, Rogue One, Andor. Like, because obviously if you watch the first episode of Andor, you're like, oh, this dude's so different than, Captain Cassian Andor that we get in Rogue One. So I already love the difference between the character because, I mean, it's a self-titled character for the series. So that's a really good thing for Cassian and the character himself. So, I think the time jumps will be. I think they'll be limited to only telling a good story for Cassian. So I approve of it. But of course, until we see it, we'll see how it's executed.
Because I think it's. Although I think the rumor was like 1, 2, 3 time jump, 4, 5, 6 time jump, or something like that. Like 3 episodes in one time period, and then jumping across. And the fact that we're getting 12 episodes again was great.
Yeah, nice to see a longer series rather than like 6 or 8 episodes.
I have seen a rumor though and
Ooh.
it's a rumor that Cameron Monaghan was spotted on set of Andor season 2, but wasn't confirmed to be in any of the shooting. What would you guys think? Especially with it's a game trilogy for what they want to do. So what would happen if we saw him this spring? Would that dictate anything that goes into the games, telling his story, or what if we got a little sneak peek of him?
Oh, because
I mean,
they did say there was going to definitely be a trilogy. The third game is still coming. That
Right.
hasn't been cancelled. I would. It could be very interesting where the third one's going to be set, and
This
where
is
we
the
might.
time period too. It's the
Yeah,
same time period.
yeah. And if we do get him in Andor, I'm all up for it, 100%.
It'd be dope.
Yeah.
I don't want to see him in it as a cameo. I think you don't do anything with him in live action till you've completed his trilogy of games, because otherwise it raises too many questions. You've got holes to fill in. Where's he been? What's he been doing? Why has he turned up now? Why wasn't he in other things? And I know some of the game time answers that and what he's been doing and where he's at. But if you're going to make a trilogy of games, let's tell his story there first, then let him show up in things after that. The timeline is going to be a kind of cutting it close again with like where the third game falls, because obviously the first game was 5 years after Order 66. This was what game 2 was, what, 2 or 3 years after the first game. So
Mhm.
you're reaching the kind of period where a third game could be round about where the Kenobi series is,
Yes.
if it's a couple of years after
Right
that.
about there.
So to have him then all of a sudden before that game's come out, have him appear almost 8 to 10 years later in something else, then begs the question of, okay, so he makes it out of the third game. What's he been doing all this time? Where is he? So to me, it makes no sense having him appear in live action until he's completed his trilogy of games and you've told his individual story there first. Then you can start going, okay, where can we insert him into live action to give the fans what they want, which is seeing him in live action.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. You wouldn't even want a small cameo,
No,
or just absolutely nothing.
It's just gonna, like I said, it's just gonna drum up questions. Like, okay, where's he been since then? Because you could have his trilogy round up by him making some noble sacrifice at the end of the third game. So why ruin that by guaranteeing he has to survive by having a cameo that could take place 5-10 years after that already? So it makes no, just to me personally, it makes no sense to have him appear as a cameo, even in passing for like 2 minutes, without having confirmed what's already happened to him in his trilogy of games.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I mean, personally, I'd be cool with either or. It does get touchy in some points, but I mean, at the same time, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to do it one way or another. Well, what about we get his third game and he makes a cameo in the Mando movie? Or the
I
Thrawn
think that'd
movie.
be cool. It would be what, 10 years?
That'll
No,
be a long time after, well after.
20. Be like 20 actually.
Probably closer to that, yeah.
Yes, because Jedi Fallen or Last Survivor came out last year. So yeah, it wouldn't be until 27, I would say, we would see the last game.
I mean, I can't. I mean, what was it? Survivor came out last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then when did Fallen Order come out? What, 2019?
Yeah, 2019.
So if you're talking there was like
No,
5
2028.
years between games, then it's likely we're not going to get the next game until probably 2028 at earliest.
Which at this rate could be when the Thrawn movie comes out.
So I still don't see it happening, because I think they want to have him in stuff before then. In terms of like where it appears in the timeline, I mean.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to start asking the questions then of, okay, he's turned, he had his last game that was set 10 years before episode 4, and then all of a sudden he's not reappeared again until the Thrawn film. So where was he in the original trilogy? Where was he helping the Resistance, fighting the Empire during that time? And then again, you've got all these questions.
Yeah.
Where is he? What the fuck's he been doing?
Yeah. Why weren't you here?
Exactly.
Or if it does the reverse thing, in the sense, if he's in the Thrawn movie, like I say, and has a video game, and he mentions nothing about it.
Because his whole premise has been fighting the Empire throughout the two games. So to then have him just bypass that whole story and stuff. So that's why I buy into the whole thing of him maybe getting sacrificed at the end of the third game, and they don't actually bring him into live action at all.
I don't want him to die. I think he's a good character.
I don't think
not saying
anyone
he-
wants him to die,
I
but
don't think he
at the same
deserves to die,
time,
but I think otherwise the more stories they're writing now for Star Wars in the time period of the Skywalker saga, the more you then have to justify where these characters were at different times in big galactic events. Like since the end of Bad Batch, people are saying, "Oh, do you think it was cool that if Omega was at the Battle of Yavin, or if she was there in the sequel trilogy?" And it's like, okay, well, why haven't we seen her then? Why have there been no stories about her? You start then having to insert these characters that we've been shown that to have survived and have been around during this time period, and they're big important characters enough to have been shown on screen to us. So you go, okay, so where were they during this time period then? So they've had that issue with Rebels, and the fact they've then had to put Hera into different bits and pieces in the background to go, okay, so she was around, she was on Hoth during the Battle of Hoth, we just didn't see her in the movie. We see her in comics and in cartoons in the background instead, and they have to do different to go, okay, so Sabine was on Mandalore and stuff like this. So you then have to then start creating all these extra stories of where were they during these time periods and these big events, and it becomes too crowded and too convoluted. Then just sometimes you got to let someone die.
But no, you don't have to. There's force heal, so it doesn't matter. You can just heal them. You could take a lightsaber to the chest and be healed. But no one
She only
tell
need to
that.
do that because she read it in the Jedi texts. Others didn't know how to do that.
Yeah, clearly. Like, just heal yourself. That's fine. But no. Well, look. April 22nd for Andor season 2. So 12 wonderful weeks of Andor. And hopefully at the Star Wars Celebration this year, we find out if we're getting something extra, Tales of the Sith or some other special or the official... Dan, have they done the official announcement for Ahsoka Season 2?
Well, we know it's coming because they're starting filming this year.
Yeah, it greenlit for sure. That they were going to... or Filoni was I'm pretty sure they came out that Filoni was writing season 2, during the last 2 episodes of Ahsoka when it was premiering.
Yeah, that doesn't shock me at all. It's like I'm all ready for season 2.
I guarantee you at some point we'll get a Tales of story that has Jod's backstory. I'm almost going to guarantee that we get that at some point now because they've done it with Morgan Elsbeth and a couple of others. So I reckon they save it for that rather than filling it in any flashbacks or anything else.
Will you be happy with that more of a connection to Skeleton Crew if we get Tales of the Sith with Jod?
Well,
I'm cool with it.
It seems to be a perfect scenario for it in terms of a 3-story arc of how he ended up living a homeless life or whatever, and then getting picked up by a Order 66 survivor and then having to watch her get executed. And how did he survive? Which is what we talked about, is how did he survive that? Did he escape? Did they just let him go because he was Force sensitive? If it was the Inquisitors that killed off the Jedi that saved him, then why was he not taken in by them to be trained as an Inquisitor himself? So there's things that they could definitely touch on in terms of a Tales of story. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. So
yeah.
And you're right. It was January 2024. Lucasfilm confirmed that Filoni was developing the second season.
Dope.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't remember them being season 2 is coming, kind of thing.
Wait, with them recasting Baylan Skoll or Ray Stevenson for Baylan Skoll, I mean that's almost certain that we're getting Ahsoka season 2.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, well.
Do you
it
think
was just a fan announcement, though, Brandon. It wasn't a thing. It's like saying I've been recast as Jabba the Hutt. So I'm actually playing the body of Rotter the Hutt in the Mando film, and then the other guy is voicing him.
Yeah.
Oh my god, man!
Can confirm by a solid source. 100%. Do you think? What else would you have any bold predictions for Star Wars Celebration this year? You think they're going to announce anything else, or we might get the Mando and Grogu poster?
I think they'll show a bit more footage.
I think they're. Yeah, I was gonna say. I bet they show a teaser. Give us a little bit there, and I will be on Reddit watching and waiting for leaks.
And I'd like to think we get some sort of more announcement about what the situation is going to be with these new Jedi Order Rey films post.
Yes,
episode 9.
That's what I'm most excited for.
Eric, do you guys think we'll get the next Star Wars film movie or the Batman 2 first? We're going to get no movie before.
Yeah, we're getting that because that's confirmed when that's coming out, isn't it? So,
yeah, Batman's not going to be delayed again. But you're right, actually. If we can get some more confirmation of what the hell's happening with the Rey movie, because I feel like it's been like, yes, it's coming. No, it's not coming.
Oh, there's going to be a new trilogy of Rey films where she plays the new Obi-Wan. I'd like to get a bit more confirmation of what's going on with James Mangold's film because that sort of seemed to have been pushed back a bit. It's still going ahead, but hey, when's this actually going to happen? Because it's the thing about Star Wars is they've named so many films and projects that are going to happen, and then they've all been cancelled. It's like, okay, yes, we're getting the Mando film next year, but fucking just say you're going to make a film and stick to it for once.
Well, that's
the last 5 years you've flip-flopped around so much. The last 6 years even.
Or just start making it and don't say anything until it's like at least 75% done.
100%. 100%. Because maybe it was like, we're getting this show, or we were getting, what was it? It was meant to be like the Top Gun movie of Star Wars films.
Rogue Squadron.
Yeah, Rogue Squadron. I was like, okay, that sounds cool. Not coming.
Yeah.
Because the fact they even made like a teaser trailer about that as well.
Yeah.
They like interviewed Patty Jenkins and did a few of the bits for it. And then
Patty Jenkins.
They knocked that off. And then they said, yeah, actually we are going to redo it now. And then they sacked it off again. And then like the Rian Johnson trilogy of films that he was supposed to be doing, that seems to have bit the dust now as well, even though apparently they're still keen on it. The Taika Waititi Star Wars film that was supposed to be coming. What the fuck happened to that? Like everything is just
Thor is what happened to that.
Stop announcing stuff and just make something, please.
Yeah.
That's it.
Or the Lando show, the Lando movie. Yeah. I think it'd be better as a show or a short maybe. A movie, I don't know.
The droid series that was going to be that was focusing on C-3PO and R2.
Dude, that has the potential to be so badass. All the things that they've seen together. I mean, but then again with C-3PO, it's like, are they telling a story over time? Because, homie's mind got wiped. So what stories are we going to get from, is this prequel era? Is this, so that has a lot of potential actually. And R2's seen it all.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
He's, insane.
Well, or was it, Rangers of the New Republic's been cancelled. That Rogue Squadron, Star Wars 1313 was a game that got cancelled. There's actually a bigger list than I thought there was of Star Wars stuff that's been cancelled.
It was a droid story, wasn't it? That was what the droid one was called.
Yeah. Star Wars Underworld apparently was cancelled in 2010. Star Wars Celebration 2005 was plans for a TV show. Which was the original one that was going to be coming out. That was their dabble into TV show that was cancelled in 2010. That was one thing. Where are we going down? Oh, well, we know the Boba Fett TV movie got cancelled. That was turned a TV show. Let me go to something that's actually more recent. That's right. There was meant to be a Kevin Feige Star Wars film at one point. He was.
I think they scrapped that.
Yeah,
that's scrapped.
Yeah, they asked if he asked if he could use Ahsoka again, and they said no. So they said, "I'm not going to do it."
Yeah, I like this. number one cancelled. Acolyte.
And it's like, that's the funny thing with the Acolytes. It's like, was it even? No one even said anything about it happening in season 2. It was just like not continuing. Basically, it's like, boo. Give me a Chimera comic, dude. Chimera, man, that's what just the one character still upsets me. It's because he looks so damn cool, and he was so damn cool.
And he killed like 6 Jedi straight up,
literally.
In one episode.
Literally.
And had the detachable lightsaber that killed X-23 3 times in the chest.
Yeah, it's a hole puncher.
Yeah, she was a whole bunch.
Like, dude, come on.
I'm still more set on the what he just snaps the fucking dude's neck and then just tosses him to the side like he was.
Yeah.
Yord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the moment my jaw. That was the moment my jaw dropped. It wasn't any of the other deaths because like half of them were like no name Jedi who were going to die anyway. Like the Jackie one was a surprise, yeah. And to be fair, the Jod one just made my jaw fucking hit the floor.
Yeah. That was rough.
That was just like that's not even a lightsaber death, is it? Like you know, Jedi versus Sith, you don't even get to be taken out by a fucking lightsaber. You just got your neck snapped and then tossed aside like you were yesterday's trash.
This other weapon of a more civilized time, cracking necks. But look, guys, I say thank you so much for coming on this episode. Thank you so much for going over the Skeleton Crew and/or cancel projects that there was more than I thought there was. And not to mention, we actually got some little feedback that I did tell you guys is that you guys have been one of the top guests that's been on this show that people do. Well, this fan really enjoys. Out of everyone that mentioned in all the list of guests we have on the show, you guys came as the top 1 and 2.
Hell yeah. Bang, bang. It's awesome.
Thank you to Lee's viewers for saying that. I love you.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
And the fan that did say this is actually the OG fan who's been here since episode 1.
Ooh. Nice. And you're getting near 200 episodes, I've just noticed, isn't it? This is what, 191?
Yeah, 191. In 10 weeks, we hit 200 of the main show.
Because like you haven't missed a week since you started.
No, and we're not going to miss a week when I go to Europe either. That's the mission.
We're going to do fucking live in London.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's the plan at a pub.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Yeah. Just a little camera on a table in a booth.
Episodes every week consecutively since you started the podcast. That's unreal.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Some weeks I'm just like, I can't be asked, and I'll fucking leave it till next week. So the dedication, mate, that you have is unreal.
Thanks, man. You can, if you look closely, you can see the sleep in my eyes. Even Eric. Great discussion, guys. Glad I could come up the tail end. But no, thanks Eric for coming past. Thank you for everyone who's come past, and like you guys too. You guys have both been smashing it. And your lives, well, I haven't been able to jump in because it's like 4 o'clock in the morning when I'm sleeping. That's the only reason why I haven't come past. But yeah, any final words, guys?
I think I have spoken.
Yeah.
This is the way.
Damn right. And I'll see you guys for Andor season 2.
Boom.
So as always, guys, thank you very much for everyone coming past. And until next time, happy ranting.
Thanks for listening to Lights, Camera, Rant. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a rating and review, and be sure to tell your friends.